Hey all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about villain types. The Brute. So just did evil mastermind villain type. Today we're talking about the Brute, and this is a perfect tag team because the evil mastermind is the brains of the operation, the man with a plan. The Brute is the body of the operation. He gets things done. So this is where you're looking at Juggernaut. This is where you're looking at Andre the Giant. This is where you're looking at the Rhino from Spider-Man. This is a man usually blessed with an incredible body, $1 million body, and a dime brain. So they're easy villain to use, but they're a hard villain to do well. The Mastermind is kind of the opposite. They're kind of hard to use. And they're to do them with a grade A, it's not that hard. But the Brute, to use them at all, easy. To use them well and have them keep coming back and stay relevant, that can be really hard. Maybe even harder than using Mastermind as a grade A level. So just in any encounter, the biggest, toughest baddie, the man who fights from his gut, the man who fights from his shoulders, that's going to be the Brute, basically. So if you're in Star Wars and you run into a group of smugglers, and it's like 3 Rhodians and 2 Twi'leks and 1 Wookiee, that Wookiee is the Brute because he's 7 feet tall, and he will pull your arm out and beat you to death with it. That's brutish. Now usually the Brute ends up dead because of this, because he's just there to fight, and if he loses, he's probably dead. So if you come into a fantasy game, the biggest orc in a group of orcs, that's the Brute archetype. The biggest, brawniest, baddest guy. But usually they end up sorted out at the end of the adventure, or at the end of the combat even. So it's easy to use them. You can throw them in anywhere. It's easy to understand. They're just the biggest, baddest, most badass mother trucker in the yard. But how do we keep them coming back? Now we've got to look at like the super Brute. We've got to get someone who's so big, so bad, that they can't go down. And you can't beat them fighting. So now you've got to use your brain now. To try and either just shunt them off, or maybe, just maybe, you can deal with them and sort them out. So a great example would be the Juggernaut from Marvel Comics. He has unlimited super strength, absolute invulnerability. You cannot kill him, you cannot beat him. So you got to think about how to just get rid of him for a while. So in one, I remember famously, he was thrown into the ocean. I had to walk across the bottom of the ocean to come back. There was a Spider-Man comic book where he was walking through the city, smashing things, and Spidey could do nothing to stop him because Spider-Man is just not that powerful. So Spidey just had to kind of annoy him and try to direct him and lead him by the nose in the way he wanted to try to get him out of the city, because you couldn't beat him in a straight fight. So it made a really interesting encounter. So other like Brutes of this magnitude might be like Galactus. You can't beat Galactus. You have to trick him or negotiate with him, or find some other way of dealing with him. If you look at Andre the Giant, nobody can beat Andre the Giant in a straight fight. Or the Big Show. Great example was the Big Show was taking on William Regal. Big Show is 7 feet tall. He's 500 pounds, and William Regal is like 6 feet tall, 240 pounds. So William Regal cannot win. Big Show's too big to even put a submission hold on his arm. His neck is so big you can't put him in the sleeper hold. So William Regal reached in his tights, he pulled out the brass knuckles, and he popped him in the face. And the Big Show wobbled, and he bounced off the ropes and fell. And Regal was crushed underneath him, and he still lost. But theoretically, he found a way to cheat and use this MacGuffin, which is the brass knucks, to take out the unstoppable juggernaut. Other things you could do, you could take him outside the ring, get the count out victory, and get back in the ring before he does. Beat the clock challenge. But you can't beat them in a straight fight. So you have to look for other avenues. So in a space opera game, this could be like the Super Star Destroyer or the Death Star. You can't beat it in a straight fight. You have to find the trench run, that one weakness, and pick it apart. This is where maybe a critical hit could come in your game system. If you think about David and Goliath, no one can beat Goliath. But if you get the critical hit, you just have that one chance. But, Goliath basically has unlimited hit points. So you can't beat him. And if you come back to look at, maybe like a vampire game, maybe an incredibly ancient vampire would be this physically. Problem with them is usually they're also an evil mastermind. They're the super juggernaut and the evil mastermind in the same package. They're the evil ace. And maybe I'll do a video on the evil ace archetype and how to use them. But in a fantasy game, this could be your troll that never stops regenerating. 12 foot tall, 5,000 pounds of troll flesh that will never stop regenerating. You can't kill it. You need to deal with it another way. Buried in the ground. Push it off a waterfall. Bind it with chains of adamantine so it's still alive, it just can't move. This could be your hill giant or your titan, a storm giant. A dragon could easily be the juggernaut where no one can take him out. The brute. A golem, stone golem. Any of these big, meaty, powerful archetypes. A brontosaurus. Godzilla. Godzilla is a great example because in a direct fight you can't beat him. You have to find some other way of taking him out. So, brute, easy to use. You can use him anywhere. Just the biggest, baddest guy. He's a brute. You play as a brute. I'll play as a brute all day long. You can be kind of dumb, and the other players can trick you into doing things. But when it comes time to to start throwing some fists around, you've got this taken care of. A lot of the time, power gamers are the brute because they just don't have any background or backstory. They have nothing to talk about, but they can fight. And when well played, that can still even be entertaining. Like I said, I've played a brute. And he was an entertaining character because he was so dumb and so unwise, but such a badass at the same time. And I had a lot of fun with him. And one of the other players was a rogue who was the exact opposite. And he tricked me into doing evil things. But I was too dumb to realize it. And, so even though I was like lawful good, I was tricked into doing evil things because I thought they were going to help people. And it was so much fun. You could have a villain like that. To team up the unstoppable brute with the evil mastermind. And the brute isn't even evil. He's just really dumb. And the evil mastermind looks like he's a good guy to the brute. He tricked him. And masterminds are good at tricking people. So that makes perfect sense. And then you got this great morality play as well. It springs to mind DC Marvel crossover where the Joker convinced the Hulk to do his bidding, and you got the really fun scenes with the Joker talking to the Incredible Hulk, and Batman is just like, oh no, someone needs to stop this. But Batman didn't have the charisma to convince the Hulk to do anything. So he was morally good, but he looks like a bad guy. He talks like a bad guy. Hulk is so dumb that Joker is very colorful and personable, and this is clearly a good guy, and that's the bad guy. That man dressed like a bat. So that was a great story, and you can bring a story just like that into your game. So let me know about some of the brutes that you have used. If you played the brute, whether it's a Cyclops or a Minotaur or Mamatar perhaps, or whatever it is. Let me know in the comments below when you've seen it done poorly. If you got RPG horror stories about an unstoppable juggernaut that the power gamer tried to stop with his fists and he was thrown to the ground, because I'd love to hear about it. So I'm going to sign out for right now, but everybody have yourself a good day in YouTube land.